We now look at question 2. So once again, we have some code that is not doing what is expected of it, and we need to fix it. So what is the function that we have here? It's add in reverse. And so we're given two lists, and we have to add up the elements of these lists, but not in a direct manner. So we want to add the first element of this list to the last element of this list, then the second element of this list to the second to the last element of this list, and so on. So to get a better idea of what this function is supposed to do, let's look at the test. If we have the lists 1, 3, 9 and 5, 2, 21, we're supposed to get 1 plus 21, which is 22, 3 plus 2, which is 5, and then 9 plus 5, which is 14. And so when we run this test, we're going to print what we're expecting. Given these two lists, we're expecting this one. Notice here I use a slightly different formatting method, right? This approach here is even more modern, but this is good. You can use this. And then of course here we have 5 minus 2, 11, 16, 8 and minus 3, and this is what we're expecting. And so notice we have that here. Alright, so let's run this and see what happens. So notice we have a problem here, right? We have a fatal error here. In a way, this type of error is good because it's we know that there's something wrong because the program just doesn't run. In this case, the program ran, it just did not give us what we were expecting. And that's kind of dangerous because that can slip by sometimes. You're not aware that it's not doing what you want it to do. But here you're aware because it just doesn't run. So let's look and see what happens. Where does the program collapse? Where does it fail? If you notice, we get this output here, which means that this statement executed with no problem. And we can see it right here. This statement executed properly. This is the statement that had a problem. It couldn't execute. But it's not, the problem isn't in this statement exactly, and they tell you here, you come down and it's inside of this function call. So now we go inside of the function call, and right here you seem to have the problem. Now be careful. Often when you get this feedback from Python, the mistake is not exactly where it's telling you. And so you have to, you have to be capable of trying to figure out where exactly the problem is. But you have to start from here. This is what it's telling you. Somehow there's a problem here. So let's look at the error. It says index out of range. So this should be a very valuable clue. It means then that you're trying to get something from the list, but you've gone out of the list. So you're trying to access a value that's like somewhere before the beginning of the list or after the end of the list. So then you can begin to see that there's a problem right here. Then so let's go and look at the code and see what it is doing. So we get, when we call this thing with these two lists have 3 elements. So the length of these lists are 3. So we come in here, the program receives these 2 lists, and then it creates this temporary empty list. And then it's going to go through this loop. How many times? Well, as many times as the length of the list. So this program assumes that the lists have the same size. So we only check the length of one of them, x. So in this case, the length of the list is 3. So this code should be executed 3 times. And when it's done, and we have everything inside this list there, then we return it. Right? We return that list. So let's take a look at what happens then. Exactly. I give it these 2 lists. The length of the list is 3. We're going to do this 3 times. So the first time I has a value of 0. So I will have values 0, 1, and 2. So the first time I has a value of 0. So what's x0? x0 will be the number 5. Okay, and it's going to add that to what? Well, you'd like it to add it to this number here, right? Well, here. X has a value of 1, and you want it to add it to this number here, 21, giving you 22. So it's going to take x0, which is this value here, 1, and it has to add it to y, and let's see what this is giving us here. It's saying, well, it's the length of the list, which is 3, and I has a value of what? 0. So 3 minus 0 is 3. So it's going to add x0, which is this value, to y3. But where is y3? Well, this is y0, this is y1, and this is y2. And so y3 is something off the list. It's out of range. So how do I get back onto this range? Well, I have to then subtract 1. Simple as that. And so now this will add x0 to what? 3 minus 0 minus 1, which is 2, y2. That's this value here. Then it's supposed to add what? x1, which is this value here, to y1. Let's see if that happens. 3 minus 1 is 2, minus 1 is 1. Then it's supposed to add x2 to y0. This is 3 minus 2, and then minus 1, which is 0. So we get that. So this should fix it. We run it, and we see we expect 22,514, we get 22,514. We expect 2627, we get 2627. So all we had to do to fix this problem is just go minus 1. But to be able to do this, you have to understand. So please understand this, that programming requires comprehension. This is not something you can just like memorize and then recite it back, you know, like history dates or something like that. You got to deeply understand these things, and then once you do, problems become fairly easy. Okay, so that's it for this test review. I hope it helped. Bye.